Good evening. Welcome to 7th grade Map Science. We are your students' science teachers for this year. My name is Bianca Hunter.
And I'm Jasmine Spence.
We are here to give an overview of what we've covered thus far and what's coming up in our curriculum. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. Benjamin Franklin is a mantra that has led us and will lead us this semester and year.
We started off the year doing an activity to help our students get reacquainted with old classmates and to get familiarized with some new classmates. This also allowed us as teachers to get to know our students a little better. And then we also did some team building activities. In Ms. Hunter's class, they did the tower team building with spaghetti and marshmallows, and that middle picture were her winners for that project. And then in my class, we did the lava lamp inquiry lab, where our students were able to be accustomed to being back in the lab and doing lab activities.
This 9 weeks we've covered data literacy with a focus on graphing, taxonomic classification, the flow of energy through photosynthesis, food webs and food chains and ecosystems, biodiversity and sustainability, ecological succession, and finally, competition for biotic and abiotic factors. We began with data literacy. Students reviewed the various types of graphs, they learned how to construct them and when to use them, and we also focused on identifying independent and dependent variables.
We then went on to taxonomic classification, where our students did various activities and completed different graphic organizers to be able to keep their notes in an organized manner in their notebooks.
The flow of energy started with giving them instruction on photosynthesis. They were able to identify the reactants and the products, and then we engaged in an interactive photosynthesis activity, which is continued on the next slide. Students were able to work in groups where they were to arrange the molecules at the beginning of photosynthesis, which showed the reactants. Then they showed how photosynthesis occurs in the leaves. And finally, the products, which were able students to see that one molecule of glucose was created.
Then we went on to the flow of energy, where we incorporated their knowledge from photosynthesis and showed them how that also plays a factor in food chains, and then how food chains connect with food webs, and then how the different levels of energy are shown through energy pyramids.
We conducted an energy pyramid lab where students were able to see the amount of energy that was present in producers, and then they were able to measure that 10% and transfer that on to the subsequent trophic levels. And at the end, they were able to see that organisms at the top of the energy pyramid really are not getting that much energy. We used materials such as a beaker, graduated cylinders, and food coloring. They were able to use their measuring skills, and again, the results show that the producers had the most energy and our tertiary consumers received the least amount of energy.
And then we went on to biodiversity, and we discussed with students and showed them how important a ecosystem being diverse is to their level of sustainability. So the more diverse an ecosystem is, the greater its sustainability will be.
We moved on to competition for resources, and those resources were biotic and abiotic factors, and then ecological succession.
After that, or during the ecological succession unit, we used these different card sorts and some other lab activities where students were able to organize the steps of succession, and they used different descriptions and images, and they were able to check for themselves the accuracy using QR codes.
Next up in our curriculum, we will cover the following topics, and this will lead us to our review and midterm. Global weather patterns, catastrophic events, human activities and watersheds,
human activities and dependence on ocean systems. We'll then go into heredity and genetics, DNA, and sexual versus asexual reproduction. And then we'll finish up with dichotomous keys and natural and artificial selection before we get to our review and midterm.
Extra resources that you may find helpful would be Google Classroom. Please always encourage your student to look there first if they're absent or if they have a question. The Interactive Science Notebook. Please encourage organization of their papers that are not in their interactive notebooks, and check Skyward for grades and not Google Classroom.
And then last but not least, we have our tutorial times and our contact information. So my email is jfreeman@alvinisd.net. And then my tutorials are Tuesday afternoons from 4:10 to 4:45 p.m. And then Thursday and Friday mornings from 8:05 a.m. to 8:35 a.m.
And my email is bhunter@alvinisd.net. My tutorials are Tuesdays 8:05 to 8:35 a.m. and Thursdays 4:10 to 5:10 p.m. Thank you.
Have a good night.